they're two of the top dogs. Now it's time to see what the rest of the field
competitive out there. Head down,
drivers
stay
as we
sharp.
take a look at our Lucky Duck Motorsport starting grid. Well, 4 races, 4 different pole sitters. Well, no longer, as Jake Nichols goes back-to-back as he'll take the pole here tonight. And the driver that won last week at Kansas, he'll be to the outside of the 23 of Seth Knoll. Behind them, going to be some drivers that going to be in row number 2. Thomas Green, Danny Cochran, great qualifying
Sonoma.
for both of them. Danny Cochran has been good here at Sonoma and other leagues that we've broadcasted. We'll see how the two can convert that here tonight. In 5th place, excuse me, going to be Vincent Sora in the 15, and also going to be the pick of Richard Wolsifer of Gavin Rogers in 6th. Brian McCann, another driver. I'm just kind of shocked to see where they qualified so well. The 8 will take 7th. They'll see if he can carry over some go-karting talent here to Sonoma. Zach Hall, Robert's pick, going to be in 8th with John Forbes Jr. in 9th. And finishing out our top 10, it's the 27 of Jared Talmadge.
All right, starting in 11th place will be Brian P. Johnson in the 28 machine with Larry Yingling in the 67 to his outside. Row 7 is going to be Ryan Kelly and Cedric Hunter in P13 and 14. P15 and 16 is going to be Samuel S. Garcia and Joshua Kanata. Starting back in the 17th place, Shane Terrian and Matt Muir to his outside in the 18th position. And Ollie Fonseca and Brian Knoll round out the top 20.
I'm going to scoop you into turn 1 and just
Final few drivers that will be racing here tonight. 25 in total with Ben Kinney in 21st. Then drivers that could not get a time in: Douglas Newbiggie, Chuck Sweeting, Danny Ware, and Jan Van Leer. Going to be those final 4. Also, looking at drivers, a little bit of a shock.
I got some fast people behind me.
Disconnecting right as we were in the middle of gridding. So the 28, he will have to start in pit road if he's able to reconnect back into this race. That is a tough spot for a driver that was just outside of the top 16 in points. They'll have to try to get reconnected in here quickly as the field rolls, and we're about to get ready for racing action.
Thank you, Todd.
At Sonoma, 50 laps in total. No stage break, no full course yellows will be thrown or expected to be thrown unless there is a major blockage. No fast repairs, 4 extra sets of tires in pit road. Fuel mileage expected to be about 35 laps is a full fuel you can take these vehicles. So at least a 1 stop here tonight for fuel. We'll see how the tires vary on throughout this evening. But the one aspect of this race that is going to be tough to watch out for the drivers: 15 incident points. That's when you make contact with driver, you go off track, you hit the wall.
We got 15
you get too many
penalty limit.
15's the magic number. You will have.
We got a 15 penalty limit.
Penalty here tonight, Richard. That's going to be the big wild card of the evening. Of how well can you stay clean, green, and out of trouble this evening.
Yeah, I think that's a really awesome rule for the road courses. I mean, you have.
I don't think I got many contact points in practice.
So,
of course, I wasn't racing other people either.
But this really helps the drivers drive clean, keep the cars safe, stay on the track.
I got my teammates in Discord.
Limit for the driver penalty. So it'll be interesting to see how many drivers receive that black flag later on in this race.
Well, it'll be interesting with Forbes and Jared back here. They're probably going to make it 20 wide if they want to.
I know, that's what I'm worried about.
Most drivers are stuck behind traffic.
I didn't get much practice on that.
Make their way through this portion as the field is side by side. Nick,
I hope I can just survive.
see the top 2 drivers that we're expecting here tonight. A lot of work for Gavin Rogers, a lot of work for as well Vincent Sora and Zach.
Ryan's got Garcia behind him, so field. None of us are safe.
Anyone else maybe a little bit of a slide.
Presuming second gear.
Way to gain a better finish here at the end of this race.
Thomas Green is in second, Gavin's in second.
And just 2 more corners to go. Any thoughts?
Seth Noel's in
before we go green.
Second.
And it's going to be interesting to see what drivers decide to opt to save their tires for the longer
race. Gavin's in first.
About 1 pit stop for fuel, because if you waste those tires, you're going to drop like a rock later in the race. So it'll be interesting to see what strategy these drivers take.
Well, top 2 going to be the 2 drivers that have proven they are some of the best at the oval racing. How well can they keep it clean here this evening for road course racing? The first road course of season 12 is upon. It's Sonoma Raceway out of turn number 12 into the restart zone. Jake Nichols, Seth Knoll going to be on the lap pedals. They roar down into turn number 1. race winner. And you look up to the sky as you climb to turn number 2. Hard braking zone, everyone trying to make their way slowly around the rumble strip, but it's Nichols clean. Noel going to be following in suit side by side for 3rd place as they head down into turn 3A, 3B. Trouble a little bit further on back for Brian Noel, but up front, it is already mainly single file for our top 8.
Yeah, single file.
I was wanting to go low there, and he did it for me.
Spins out in front of you. You can't see going over the hill, but a very clean opening lap so far for most of the track as they're starting to go on the backside of the track now. 73 of Jake Nichols still leading this race as the top 3 start to pull away and show they're here to put on a show for themselves.
Certainly are. Update on Brian B. Johnson. He was able to reconnect back into this race, but 13 seconds behind our leader. It's tough for a driver that qualified in 11 that could have been fighting for a top 10 here tonight. Now going to be seeing Jake Nichols hard braking into turn number 11. The new aspect of Sonoma, this big wall that drivers have to deal with while turning around the corner. Richard, that aspect of this track is going to be so different from what drivers are used to as Nichols leads lap number 1.
Yeah, it's definitely something they're going to have to get used to, especially now if you get spun, because it could potentially happen if you get spun going into that turn. Instead of just sliding and kind of sliding up into the field, you could potentially slide straight into the edge of that wall and end your night. So that's another terrifying thing to think about when hitting that wall as they head up and over 3B right now to head down into the backside of the track again.
Top 3's already going to be about 2 seconds ahead, over 2.5 seconds ahead. Is from Jake Nichols to 4th place runner Vincent Sora. Crazy to see that difference already. As riding on board, getting a sense of what it's like is Gavin Rogers in the 1 machine trying to catch up to number 2 as the battle for 5th place as seeing some of those luckied up machines having their Christmas ribbons around their vehicles. Jake Nichols as well as going to be John Forbes, Gavin Rogers, also going to be seeing Jared Talmadge, all having Christmas schemes here tonight.
Yeah, these Christmas schemes are awesome to see. I love it when drivers come out with a theme, especially during the holiday seasons. Thomas Green and 31 looking low on the number 23 machine of Seth Knoll, not able to get that pass down. He's got to fall the back in line, but that will allow Jake Nichols to get a hefty lead in front of the 23 machine.
Well, it went from close to one another, so now it's gapped out to almost a full second. Fastest lap of the day goes to Vincent Sora as he does not want to lose touch to our top 3. Still about 2.5 seconds behind, and that's going to be the pace for Sora with him qualifying back in 5th position. It's just a lot more work for the 15 to try to keep himself close to the top 3, where if you're at least within distance,
Man, they take that turn better than I do.
Could grant you a position or 2. But if you're so far back at the stage, you might not even have enough time to take capitalization on those moments.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard to
I went the first there.
Make a mistake because there's no cautions, and the removal of the stage really is going to affect these road course races that we have. Because, like you said, one mistake is sets you back 10 plus seconds, and it's going to be really hard for you to try to get back up through the field. It almost takes you out of winning contention completely. Even the top 5 almost completely. So these drivers got to worry about making any mistake and try not to do it and mitigate as much as possible.
So you're seeing a little bit more in the middle of the field. This is where 10th place runner in the number 7 of John Forbes rides. A little bit more of a train action as everyone is in line. Just trying to get through turn 11, turn 12. Find an opening to go for a pass or maybe just survive. And Vincent Sora puts another fastest lap of the day down. You know the 15 is putting down every aspect that he could possibly do to close into our top 3. Problem then kind of goes to tire-wise. How well are these tires going to evolve? I think that's the one thing I'm curious about, and some of the drivers are even talking about strategy coming into this race was, you look at the next gen, there were times where you didn't take tires when you came into pit road. This being the 50, that one pit stop that they have. The question is, do you or do you not? Who's going to risk it or not?
Yeah, I think the difference though is like next gen, they were kind of designed for road course racing. They've got the wider tire, they've got a lot more downforce and the ability to stick to the turns a little bit more. These cars, I mean, they've got a narrower tire, they've got a lot more power as well. So I think tires are going to be a necessity when they come into a pit. It'll be interesting to see if anybody decides to opt to not take tires and just go fuel only to get back out and have Rogers.
That's now ducking down low. Kevin Rogers trying to find an opening to get by Danny Cochran for that 5th place position. 2 runs a little bit wide. And 1 better exit. Try to set up to go push forward if possible as they climb up through turn number 1. Gavin Rogers
moving them up there.
As they go under the bridge up to turn 2. Cochran with the better dive into turn 2, and Rogers just trying to find a better exit out of the corner, but ultimately almost got ran over by Hall.
Yeah, he had to slow down a lot to try to get a better exit. So Hall was right on his rear bumper. They were able to stay off each other and keep straight. Gavin did have a really good exit, but just did not have the line to get around that of Danny Cochran. And also, we had a change for 3rd place. Vincent Sora was able to get around Danny Cochran and take 3rd away from the number 31 machine.
Yeah, able to get by Thomas Green. That 31 is certainly a good qualifying run for him to be up front. He'll take this opportunity to follow the 15, see what pace he has. A lot of learning lessons could be gained here. As we go back to that, watching the battle outside of the top 5, Zach Hall. This is some of the closest racing action from 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th place on top of one another. As
clear on the right
at the 27, the Jared Talmadge. Where can he go? And it looks like he'll defend low. Doesn't want Brian McCann to try to dive for that inside pass.
Yeah, he doesn't want to dive, and Gavin had to lock up a little bit going into that final turn there, the hairpin turn. So a lot of smoke, or a little bit of smoke you saw from his tires right in front of Zach Hall. Now we're back here at 7 and 8 of Brian McCann and John Forbes Jr. Them two trying to get a run to catch up with the cars in front of them and head up. Doing a good job keeping each other on their toes, really. Got to look in your mirror, see what that other driver's trying to do, and try to protect your line along the playing defensive and make sure you don't lose any positions.
And looking at drivers' lap times, that last lap, our top 3, all for lap number 5 of this race, just put down their fastest lap of the day. Kind of want to bring up the weather if we can once again. We saw during qualifying the track temp was extremely warm, and it still is quite warm at 116. Air temp going to be 79 degrees Fahrenheit. It is at 1:12 p.m. I'm curious on how this track continues to get warmer and how that could affect these times, as already the drivers about a second slower than their fastest laps during practice when the track was at its coolest.
Yeah, we also have one car going. And Keeney taking it into the pit lane currently. Not sure if there was an issue. So we'll have to see. He's currently in his pit box. We'll have to see if that's a scheduled pit stop for himself or he had some issue. Maybe he got some damage he had to repair.
It's going to be a quick in and out moment, and could be because of how slow Ben runs. Might be a hit early and see where you can be rewarded later on in this race. Did see a black flag that he had to serve a drive-through penalty. It's the 98, which is staying to the inside, waiting for the whole entire field to pass before he gets rolling. Looking at some of the other drivers that are out on track here, it's going to be the 00 of Brian Noel in 19th place. He's got his teammate of Lucky Duck Motorsports, Douglas Newbegin, behind him, all trying to find ways to retain all the drivers ahead, but just a lack of speed it looks to be from the 00 and the 77. As behind them, it's going to be Jan Van Leer just trying to find his way in the time machine to get some passes done.
Yeah, it seems like it's not very easy to pass for these guys here at Sonoma. You have to be able to build a run-up, but by the time you build that run-up, you're going into another turn. And if you're not very much aside of the next person, you've almost got to give that position back up to the one in front of you. So it's interesting to see. I mean, there's a lot of speed differential from a lot of these drivers. Some of them are very strong on road courses. Other ones, it's probably not the most comfortable racing they do, so they're just kind of here to survive, get some points, and show up to the, make sure they show up to every single race. We have some heavy smoke in front of the number 16 machine.
Yeah, I believe that was Larry Yingling. A lot of heavy walk-ups for the 67. That's where the toughest smoke on entry of turn number 11 came from. And also at the center of the corner, this was carrying too much speed. Those tires locking up, which I was watching some of the drivers during practice. They were going hard on those brakes in the entry of turn 11. And a lot of them said it works for now, but later on in the race, you got to be concerned about your braking points and might have to slow down a little bit sooner and not to lock up your tires as much. As Samuel S. Garcia trying to stay ahead of the 3-time champ of the WSSR Cup Series, as Yingling is just trying his best and not the most well-known road course specialist. Driver that kind of just shoots up on the road courses, hopes for the best. They go down through the S's. I kind of want to go back to that Joshua Canada battle because we always have, I feel like, have to shine a light on Shane Tarian, our controller driver. But road course racing with the controller, I would imagine it's not the easiest thing to do, and oval makes a little bit more sense. But here's the onboard with our controller driver as he's trying to run smoothly with the joystick.
That was your fastest lap of the session.
Really taking it easy. Is going to be Tarian as he gets at the corner. And it's kind of impressive. Control, everyone was kind of talking about and mentioning it's all about the accelerator on how you get out of the corner. That's what's really going to help you with some good speed here tonight. And just using triggers on a controller is what's enabling this 9 machine to take off and go. You can see the small twitches where you gotta get a glimpse of, oh yeah, that's a joystick. Steering wheel would not react as erratically as some of these movements are, but it's always so interesting to see as Larry Yingling able to make a pass on the 24 of Ali Fonseca. As Shane Tarian will duck down low on Joshua Canada, trying to attempt to go.
Tires are wearing out.
As well as seeing Matt Muir in that 72 machine right there.
Yeah, Shane Tarian is really impressive with his controller use here on iRacing. And honestly, I know you say, on a road course it might be a lot more difficult for a steering wheel, but if his racing experiences came from like that's of Gran Turismo, it's probably a lot more comfortable to be on a road course with the joysticks and the throttle with the triggers than it is an oval. Oval might be a lot easier just because, you're not going both ways on the joystick, but he's probably a lot more comfortable than we think racing here at Sonoma.
He's giving his best effort right now, running back in 17th position as they continue to race on. Update on our leaders. Jake Nichols starting to pull away a lot more from Seth Knoll, up to 1.2 seconds over last week's winner of Seth.
We're all filling that left rear.
Started to taper off on the amount of speed he once had. Still about a half a second around his fastest lap. There is still a lot of pace there, but you can kind of get a sense that Jake Nichols, he's not trying to push the car as quickly as he possibly could, but he certainly is trying to keep the margin to a point where he feels comfortable if there's a slight little mistake that he makes.
Yeah, he's definitely given himself a little bit of leeway if he does make a small mistake with this almost 2-second lead over Seth Knoll. So doing a fantastic job. If he does make a small mistake, misses a braking point ever so slightly, maybe scuffs the wall, he won't lose lead position. So Jake Nichols doing a great job.
Sorry,
Gavin. Holding his pace this race, so he's there at the end.
Update for drivers further on back. Danny Ware, who qualified all the way into, wasn't able to get a qualifying time in the 35, made some mistakes, and he has called it an evening. We'll be finishing in 25th here tonight, our first DNF of the evening. Also back in pit road, going to be Ben Keeney in the 98 as he continues to get more repairs done and decides if he wants to continue racing here this evening. Road course racing in here at Sonoma, it is a mental battle as well as a physical one that drivers have to go through. This track with the vertical, we've seen the elevation changes that drivers have to go through. It's so tough to try to even get a whole grasp of this track at times. Richard, this is a course where I feel like if you just throw someone out there that doesn't have a lot of road course experience, you're going to struggle just getting through the first 2 corners, let alone this whole 12-corner race course.
Yeah, it is definitely a strugglesome track for those that are not very well versed in the road course racing. Especially, I think one of the most troublesome turns is that 3B, that 3 to 3B, where you're on that kind of sweeping left, then you make a sharp right-hand turn at the crest of a hill. So it's hard to see where you need to hit your mark for that hill because typically it's right at the top of the hill. So you can't necessarily see it with the car
almost hit the wall.
looking up over the hill, trying to get over the hood. So it's a lot of knowing the track, knowing where you are on the track and where to place that car to hit your mark versus seeing it and just knowing where it goes.
Couple of different positions out on course. There was Josh with an point of view. He's still being heavily pressured into Shane Tarian. Other close battles going on for 6th position. As you have the 8 machine.
Little jump there.
And trying to close in on the gap on the 27 is Jared Talmadge. Also, you've got John Forbes right behind him, and that's one of the better screenshot spots. Driver hits the turtle, and they get a little bit of air as the 8 and a few others just two-wheeling it for a second, as also trying their best to get on the accelerator off the exit turn 4.
Yeah, the good thing about the turtles here, the curbs here, is it's not like an actual turtle like you see at like a Circuit of the Americas. It's kind of intended for that, for those drivers to use that. You will see them get in the air. And yeah, that is a fantastic spot for drivers to get a great screenshot at the end of the race if they want to post it. So it's a great photo op area, but it's also dangerous because if you hit that too hard and get up in the air, you got no grip, but those tires are not on the ground, and it can throw you all the way out to that outside wall. You can lose a ton of time if you hit it wrong.
Talking about Jack Nichols, maybe he's pacing himself, or maybe Seth Bull was. That's the lap of the race. Going to the 23 machine that last go around, as cuts the difference from almost about 2 seconds down to 1.3. The 23 night is not over just yet as he tries to close in on the gap. Looking at other drivers, our top 3 are really in their own world based off of pace. It's Thomas Green. Those tires look to be a little bit too overheated up. Still in a good spot for the 31 in 4th place, kind of in what I like to call the no man's land. And not very close to anyone in front of you or behind you. He's now just going to figure out his own pace and try to stay ahead of Danny Cochran. While our top 3, within 3 seconds, you can see your competition. This is certainly a spot where you're just hit your marks and bank on the fact the driver ahead of you is going to make a major mistake.
Yeah, just waiting for someone to make a mistake is all you're looking for. Is we had almost a moment back by Shane Terry and going into that right-hand turn 4. Looks like it almost got 3 wide trying to go back into turn 4, but they were able to keep it straight and off each other and out of the wall, so all drivers okay. See one car there struggling a little bit, the white number 50 machine.
That will be Samuel Experts leading this group. He now is just floundering to stay on course as he continues to wobble back and forth. And now emerging into this group, the driver that started from pit road, Brian P. Johnson, from last to 8th, is flying through this group right now, as now he is trying to close in on Matt Muir ahead of him. Also, while we were looking at this battle, new fast lap going to 15 of Vincent Sora, as he puts down a 1 minute and 77 lap time. These drivers up front, they still have a lot of speed in these tires, even 14 laps in.
Yeah, that's impressive to see because they are putting down scorching laps almost every single lap between all 3 of them, and they are still just able to just gap the rest of this field. I mean, Seth Noel, he had not a very fast lap that last lap. He was at 1:17.8 when Jake Nichols was at 1:17.5, and Vincent Sora putting down the fastest lap of the race at 1:17.2. So, I mean, they're still putting down phenomenal laps for how old these tires are 14 laps in.
And looking at some of these drivers, as Shane Terry through the S's, peeking his nose, but gets back in line with the 16. I'm looking at when drivers will pit. Workhorse racing is so interesting. I feel like with the next gens and the way that those tires wouldn't really fall off in the past, it would kind of be immediately when you could pit and you knew you were good on the fuel, you'd make that pit stop because you knew you weren't switching out the tires. With drivers here tonight, the potential of changing tires, it kind of switches things up. Do you push your fuel as far as you can go, or do you split this race in half? And that's going to be the fun strategy to look out for, because technically, if you wanted to do what we like to call an undercut, where you pit sooner than your competition ahead of you, we're just about a lap and a half away from drivers making their pit stop.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see which drivers decide to do the undercut. And honestly, I think the best strategy would be to try and undercut it, maybe do 1 or 2 more laps further up, just in case, but take some left side tires. I remember talking to Zach Hall last night prior to today, and he was saying to protect those left side tires. So to me, it sounds like the left side tires are going to wear a lot more. They do have a lot more right-hand turns here at Sonoma, so maybe left side tire take for the pit stop is probably going to be a strategy for these drivers to do.
That would be a curious one to see. How can you minimize time gains out of your competition? I think also the tough thing for drivers that are inside of our top 10, the top 15, is if you pit sooner than later, there's a chance that you might pit in the middle of some of these big gaggle of cars that we've been checking out, and you could actually lose time with pitting sooner than later. Well, if you're a driver that's such as Brian P. Johnson with us just entering that pit window, pitting out, when you leave pit road, you'll have clean air to work with. You'll have that space to put down some of your faster times. So the interesting calls are going to be made of, when do you feel like you've got the space to make the pit stop?
Yeah, the leaders are the ones that are really going to probably wait to the last second that they possibly can pit, just because they don't want to be the ones stuck in the traffic trying to get around these cars again, because like I said, they're going to lose time, and that could potentially change how this race ends and who wins the race. So they want to wait to be able to make sure they get out in clean air and they don't have to worry about passing anybody after they get some new or some full fuel and maybe fresh tires.
As Zach Hall currently runs in that position down.
Glitch out every turn.
Qualified.
I mean, every time I come around that turn.
Place as John Forbes took that spot away. Inside of our top 10, biggest mover is the 27 of Jared Talmadge as he continues to be pressured by Brian McCann and John Forbes. Jared Talmadge up 4 spots where he started. The driver
I got to break sooner there.
It'll be Vincent Sora in 13th place. Biggest loser, you could say. Gavin Rogers just at that 10th place position. Just doesn't seem like the race pace is there for the one machine as he is down 4 position for himself from where he qualified. Biggest mover of the day overall, though, Ali Fonseca up 7 spots from where he started. As that 2014 currently runs in 12th place. As keep our eyes set here for the battle for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. John Forbes, they just continue to be practically on top of one another as 8 stuck in the worst sandwich you can be in with that Lucky Duck Motorsports just hounding them in front and behind.
Yeah, he's just got to find an opportunity to get around the number 27 at Talmadge. It's just not there. And the problem is he could potentially have a situation with the 27 might slow him up just ever so slightly, and that'll allow the number 7 of John Forbes to make a move. So it's not the best position to be in when you're surrounded by teammates that can potentially help out and set you up for a pass.
Laps in, and they continue to race on. Update for 24th position. That's Ben Keeney, who we saw go into pit road multiple separate times. Well, he has officially called it an evening. Well, maybe the 00 of Ryan Noel, who will call it a night. So that's 3 drivers out. We're left with 22 out on track. All 22 are still on the lead lap, but Chuck Sweeting would be the first victim to be going a lap down. Jake Nichols, which this pace that we're looking, I don't think we're going to be as much in concern of seeing our top 10 or top 6, I should say, only be the ones on the lead lap. As watching Danny Cocker and Jared Talmadge, this is just brilliant racing to watch. With these guys being so close, and Jared Talmadge to the inside, taking an opportunity, but just there's no place to accelerate off the exit turn 5.
Yeah, a huge lunge from Talmadge trying to get to the bottom side of Danny Cochran for that turn. But Danny just had a better roll through in that turn on the outside. They was able to get the momentum and the power down a lot quicker than Talmadge, just because of how much speed Talmadge had to lose trying to get that lunge into the turn. He didn't have the X point on it, but he is right there on the bumper of Danny Cochran. He is trying to look for a moment to pass him. Honestly, right here's the moment. He's just not close enough. He doesn't have the momentum to get into the other side of him. But Danny Cochran goes wide, but so does the 27, and they're 3 wide going on to the front stretch.
Stand 3 wide for a moment. Now going to get back in line. Oh, what a shot that could have been for the 8 machine. And take a little bit of a 2 for 1 with both drivers making a mistake. Instead, you get back in line. It was practically like you did nothing. And the driver that gets rewarded the most, it's Zach Paul in the 32. He's now within distance, about 2 car lengths away from being right back into this conga line. Another driver that could be joining if they continue at this rate is the one at Gavin Rogers. He could get back into the mix with the mistakes that Cochran and Jared Talmadge are making right now.
Yeah, and it's not even necessarily mistakes that they're making. Racing hard, trying to stay in front of each other. And Gavin, I mean, he has got to hope something happens with this group of 5 cars. He is just losing time. He just does not look like he's very comfortable with his car at this track. He just cannot make the time.
No, but he was able to gain at least a second there that last time around because of Cochran and Jared Talmadge going so wide through turn 11. We'll see how much better of a run they have here through 9 into turn 10 over the rumble strips, trying to stay on course as multiple drivers sweeping it to the outside. And here we go, Talmadge finally gets to the inside group here on the entry of turn 11. Cochran trying to squeeze and keep the 27 back in at bay, but not going to be the case. They'll stay sub outside through turn 12. The 27 should have the advantage off the exit turn 12. Cochran with the wiggle, and Talmadge finally, after all this fighting, is able to secure 5th place.
Yeah, great move by Talmadge. Was able to get underneath Danny Cochran going into turn 11 there, and then Cochran tried to drag race down the main stretch in turn 12 to start finish, but had a little bit of wheel spin. You saw his car out of the 27 machine and had to fall in line. Now he's the cat chasing the mouse, trying to get back around Jared Talmadge.
You just try to pull away, and that's going to be the key thing here. Did you use all of your equipment to just get by the 2, or do you have something left to just pull away from this pack? I mean, also this group, with the way that you see road course racing, sometimes you find the group of drivers, sometimes it's just one driver, sometimes it's 2. We currently have this gaggle of 5. They're just stuck with. You constantly are racing around as you're seeing John Forbes grazing the dirt there for a second. I was curious with how quick Jared Talmadge was swinging that 27 to the outside. I was curious if anyone else was going to go a little bit too far. That's going to be something to watch out for.
That was a little dangerous.
Before we see our first true pit stops of the night happen, is who's going to really overcook their tires going down the hill through the S's. This Brian McCann, big wheel spin. That's going to blow up to 7 even more.
As Brian McCann gets starting to struggle, tires are getting a little old and worn out. It might be time for the driver to start thinking about pitting. They are in the pit window to make it the rest of the way as the 16 machine 11 in front of everybody, and Douglas Newbigging also almost getting loose and spinning out. But the 16 machine of
on your right.
Josh Renata, a massive spin there in turn 11.
Just
got one on your left.
Up and looked like it might have
Still there.
downshifted. Nothing out of shape.
Clear on the left.
Hard contact for himself as the rest of the field even get 5. Some major ground from 15th to 20th. He's going to be the lost ground. Other battles that are happening is Brian McCann, John Forbes. They are right back at it between themselves for the 8 and 7 machine. McCann able to defend at this current time. There was an attempt by the 7 to go for the pass, and here we go. Zach Paul now going to be in the mix to try to get by to both of these drivers. If one of them makes a mistake, that 32 is going to pounce. The question is, can they keep it all together, or will all be the one that makes the mistake as he goes over the rumble strips down into the hard-braking zone?
Yeah, it was a really fun set of turns to watch between the 8 and number 7 machine. The 7 made a move going into turn 5 and just kind of overcooked the turn, allowing Brian McCann to do the crossover and get back into his position to maintain it. But Zach Hall just kind of back here biding his time. He's waiting for one of these two to make a mistake and overshoot a turn or even make contact with each other. But he's just kind of back here and just waiting. I don't think he's really got the pace to be able to make a pass by himself.
And I want to keep our camera still on it. But here's an update of our top 3. They are within a 1.5 seconds of one another. It has been kind of yo-yoing back and forth on how quickly they can be close to one another. Nichols has been running a 1 minute and 18-second lap time. Vincent Soar as well as Seth Knoll, they've been in the 1 minute and 17-second window. They've been gaining time. Our top 3. We could be seeing a battle between all 3 of them here in the next 2 to 3 laps as they continue at this rate, because Sora looks quick. Again, Knoll and Nichols hold back to 17. As again, this grouping, the battle theme that's happening for 5th back to 8th. This has just been a treat to watch. All these drivers going back and forth.
Yeah, and this is something you don't really see a lot of times in road course racing. It will stretch out quite a bit. You won't see a lot of racing, but these guys, their skill in this car on this track is very equal, and they are putting on a show for us, proving that you can still have a lot of really close racing, even on a road course with these stock cars and these N4 NASCAR cars.
You certainly can, and now we continue to watch the battle in between Cochran as well as Jared Talmadge. Other drivers, I want to give credit to the 28 of Brian P. Johnson. Again, had to start this race from pit road. He got disconnected while they were gridding up. He had to start over that fifth position. He was about 12 seconds off the leader at the start of this race, and now is up to 16th position, has caught up to another gaggle of cars. His 12th back all in this grouping, and the 28 looks to be one of the fastest of this pack.
Brian P. Johnson is making up incredible ground after having that disconnect to start the race and starting from the pits, but now he is knocking on Shane Terrian's door right on the rear bumper of him. He is looking to try to make a move, but he is doing a great job maintaining his pace and keeping his race in his control right now as best as he can. But right there behind that group of cars, he's going to have to kind of wait for either mistake or make a daring move and a lunge to the inside of a turn.
More updates for drivers further on back in the pack are Fort DNF joining us, Brian Noel, as well as Ben Kinney and Danny Ware. It will be Chuck Sweeting in the 57, calling it an evening here early on. See Bradley Johnson and a few others trying to find their opening to go for a pass. But first driver to make an official pit stop, it's Brian McCann.
Not the first
machine. He's the first to hit pit road with Ryan Kelly following him. So it's going to be the Cody Glencock's music team that will be making their first pit stops here.
That's it. Go.
That strategy works out for the best, as I want to move up to the lead position because our top two are the closest they've been since lap 1. Jake Nichols, Seth Knoll, they're within 0.3 of one another, and a second behind them is Vincent Sora.
Yeah, Vincent Sora is doing a great job, and now he sees both of them getting ready to fight for that lead position. This is where Vincent Sora can pounce. But Seth Knoll has been able to maintain his tires, and it looks like his pace is a lot better than that of Jake Nichols. So right now, right on the bumper, he is within striking distance, but at the same time, they are in their mid window. So who's going to strike first? Or are they going to try and pit together and continue this extremely close race for the fleet?
Again, the full fuel window that you go is 35 laps. You can split this race in half and feel comfortable. That also will help you if you pit sooner than later on cutting down the amount of time that you're fueling up your vehicle. We saw that last week at Kansas. When you fully fill up this vehicle when you're on empty, it's about a 16-second pit stop. If you pit sooner, it's around a 14-second pit stop. So you're saving time by pitting earlier than later. All of these drivers are having a very tough call, though, of when you want to go for. Because if you're Nichols, if you're Knoll, and if you're Vincent Sora, any sooner is really going to help your advantage here. But if you wait out, that puts Jake Nichols in the tougher spot because he's got to make the move first. If he waits, everyone else can pit sooner.
Yeah, I think for these three,
I was hoping to jump those two cars in front of me.
No matter of what these guys do. But I have a feeling, there they go. The leader, Jake Nichols, into the pits, followed by Vincent Sora. That'll put Seth Knoll as the leader. He's going to stay out as long as he can. He's going to try to put some time with these tires that he's got a little bit saved up. But is this the right call? We'll have to see. I believe this could make him behind Vincent Sora in the long run.
And now seeing lap traffic exiting out of pit road, Olive Fonseca, Cedric Hunter, and that's going to be the next factor that you worry about. How is lap cars going to be getting in the way or out of the way for yourself? And with most drivers having fresh tires, will they influence this race in any way? As said Knoll, you have to hit your marks. This lap is so critical. Or will you do the opposite and stay out as long as you can? There are options here that are in the hands of this 23 machine, because we were seeing the lap times. They will fall off by about a half a second from your fastest lap. So there is a chance that maybe this 23 stays out a little bit longer to make sure he's got the better tires for the end of this race compared to his competition.
Go right.
Yeah, he might be taking that slight advantage, but I mean, he's definitely going to have to pit soon for tires. It could be this
fastest
lap.
What?
See. But those other guys are going to have the faster laps. He can't wait much longer on these old tires to come in and get some new fresh. Stay out again, it looks like. He's going to put another lap down, see how much time he can put up between these guys.
And new fastest lap of the day, Brian McCann in the 8 machine back in 9th place, a 1 minute 17.1. That is a burner for the 8. He's currently being challenged by Jared Talmadge, as both of those drivers have already made their pit stops in advantage.
He's going to be mad about that.
To make the pass over the 27 with the undercut. Now is the question of, can they keep it together throughout this run? As Seth Knoll continues to stay out, this 23, he might go with the complete opposite route of just staying out as long as possible to make sure he's got the better tires than the other.
I mean, that could be what he's doing, but we'll have to see what Jake Nichols and Vincent Sora are putting down on the fresh tires. I mean, like we just saw, Brian McCann putting down the fastest lap of the race with a 1:17.1 on 2-lap-old tires. So, I mean, he can't wait much longer if he wants to have a small gap between him and those guys that pit before him. So it's
good job, man.
Strategy calls are going to be interesting. That's what's going to make the difference of who wins this race and who comes in the top 5 or less.
I mean, there's Thomas Green. That is a 17, almost flat for himself. A great time by the 31. You saw it off on pace, as that is a 1:17.09 0.96 for himself. That's now Jake Nichols, Vincent Sora, they get prepared to cross the line and see what pace they have for themselves as Seth Knoll continues to stay out for another lap. And the window the drivers were given, 35 laps. Still those that have not pitted yet, Seth Knoll, John Fork Jr., as well as Larry Yingling and Shane Terrian. Those are the 4 drivers that still need to pit before this race is over. The question is when they want to make that pit stop in. How much of an advantage will they have as we're now into the second half of this race? Thank you for joining with us. It's been an honor to give you the coverage here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We also say thank you to some of the other great sponsors that are out there. We want to say thank you to our sponsor being Sim Precision Prints. If you're looking for 3D printed sim racing gear or one-of-a-kind pieces built with passion and precision, go check out simprecisionprints.shop online. And remember to use the promo code WSSR at the check off on your $50 or more order. Go check out Sim Precision Prints. Precision Prints, performance delivered. Thank you so much to our white flag sponsor. We also, if you are looking to get into racing a little bit more in a professional way, or if you're just trying to feel like a professional, go check out GTR Simulators. They've got plenty of different racing rigs and simulator rigs, those that are portable that you can move out of the way and put down for multiple different uses, or just stationary rigs. Go check all the different options that they have. And again, remember to use the promo code. Check out for $100 or more from GTRsimulators.com. Don't miss your rig and race like the pros. More pit stops going to be underway with Shane Darian making his stop, leaving us with just 3 drivers yet to pit. Richard, this is those moments that when we talk about strategy calls, I thought we were going to see someone maybe take the extreme undercut and pit sooner than later. Drivers pushing it this far out. I think this is more of a shock that I'm shocked to see at this moment of how much time that Seth Knoll is willing to give up to Nichols and Sora.
Yeah, because he is giving up almost a second every lap now that he's on track, that they're up to speed. So he's going to be probably with 2 or 3 seconds, if not more, behind them when he comes into pit. So I think he's betting on the later run for those guys that have weaker tires than he will. So I don't know. This is going to be an interesting call to see him come back up through the field and try to catch those guys back up. But right now, I think Jake Nichols and Vincent Sora are definitely going to make out on that strategy call for the pits.
They certainly are looking like the best currently, within a second of one another as the 73 and 15. We continue to race on. A little bit of lap traffic ahead of them. Now will be Jan Van Leer. That's the first driver they're going to find a way to get by. And I made the comment of maybe our top 6 won't be the only drivers on the lap after tonight's race. Well, I'm re-looking at the pace. 20 laps to go. Well, there's a chance we might be left with our top 6 being on the lead lap with us staying clean and green so far. And the pace we are seeing right now is incredible to see how fast these drivers are ripping around this track. Richard, this is always a treat to watch WSSR Cup Series. The fact that we're seeing such clean races with this Gen 4 car, it's been a pleasure all throughout this season. And honestly, Jake Nichols as well as Seth Knoll, they've been the top of the class. But everyone else throughout the field, they also deserve their flowers with how this car reacts to being pushed around, everyone being so close on pace. This has been a treat to see all the different battles here at the road course and the ovals.
Yeah, it's also been interesting to see like what drivers have adapted a lot better to this car than, let's say, the next gen. And one of those drivers, specifically Gavin Rogers, he has not had the strongest season so far. He has just not been able to adapt. This car is not driving the way he was kind of expecting it to. So it's interesting to see what drivers have been able to adapt to it and make it look good and make it work to their advantage, and others that aren't.
Yeah, I feel like on the flip side, Danny Cochran, who kind of was having his issues at moments, is Seth Knoll now going to be getting his service done. Danny Cochran has been a driver that's really found his own groove recently. With our Monday series we used to cover the Training Racing League, and really saw Danny get back to the old ways of how fast he used to be. And Here with the Gen 4 cars, the two. He's certainly quick. Is Larry Yingling now going to get his service done? Moving us for just John Forbes yet to go into the pits. And now with everyone leaving pit road, here's going to be the difference on pace. Jake Nichols back in second currently. It's almost 4 seconds the difference between Nichols and Knoll. As Knoll's got a lot of time, he's got to try to figure out how to close back in if he wants to fight for this win, let alone trying to fight for second place.
4-second difference, and he's got a 5-lap, buffer on those newer tires. So we'll have to see later in this run. I think that's where it's going to really pay off for him. But he has got to put some burner laps down now to try to catch back up to Vincent Sora and Jake Nichols, because they were putting down 116 6s and 7s when they came out on those fresh tires, and that's exactly what Seth Miller's got to try and do.
Yeah,
keep sliding it.
Car 7 has taken the lead.
Possible. That's John Forbes getting a lap led. That's going to be good for the 7 machine as the field continues to rage on. Some of the other close battles that are happening on track, the battle for 6th, that's Danny Cochran, Brian McCann, Jared Talmadge, those 3 drivers. Once was a group of 5. Now going to be a little bit smaller as Zach Paul trying to close back in the fight. Same for Gavin Rogers. Other very close battles. 13th position, Ollie Fonseca, Larry Yingling, they were practically side by side going down through the Tarian, Matt Meir, group of 4. It's 13th back to 16th that are just putting on a show. And for the fans, this certainly is giving action all over the place at Licks. Usually it's, maybe a group of 3, a group of 2 that are going back and forth. We're seeing pods of drivers fighting and a little bit of contact. Terry and Yingling end up Fonseca. And there's an opportunity for the 67 to go to the inside now, to push to the right side and get by to make the pass for 13.
Shane Terrian was heavy into the brakes, but could not get that car slowed down in time. A slight tap into Larry Yingling pushed him into Ollie Fonseca, which made Fonseca have to slow down a little more, so he didn't go super wide.
Bad turn.
That allowed Yingling to get the pass complete, but now Ollie Fonseca's got to try to hold off Shane Terrian as well, who we could put down some really fast
just
times.
at the fastest lap.
Going back and forth. Where do you place yourself for the field? Darian parallel east set his side, trying to get by the 24 as Seth Knoll talked about it. He had to put down a burner lap. Well, there it is, a 1 minute 16.581, about 2 tenths faster than the last fastest lap that was put down by Jake Nichols. And now it's time to see what the 23 has, because that gap that was once 2.5 seconds, almost 3 seconds to Vincent Sora, it's now dwindled to practically just 1 second, the difference between 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, Seth has put a massive dent into that gap between him and Vincent Sora, but also that gap is reducing from him to Jake Nichols. It's just over 2 seconds to Jake Nichols. He's doing exactly what he needed to do. He needed to put down some fast laps. He's going to have the fresher tires for the end of this race, but again, we are almost 16, 17 laps left of this race. He has got to still find the pace to catch up for those couple of seconds, ahead of him.
Laps tick away, but is there enough time? And once again, we're coming to a late race. So who had the better strategy call for their pit stop? Last week it was Seth Knoll that took the advantage of getting sooner than later, and he found his way into victory lane at Kansas. Jake Nichols wants a little bit of redemption. Felt like he was the dominant car last week. Should have went to victory lane, but was not the case. Now it's everyone on the line, keeping it close in our top 3. Forbes hits pit road are all within 2 seconds of one another. It's almost a second and a half. They got a little bit of lap traffic between them. They've got the 50 machine that's in between our leader of John Forbes and Jake Nichols in second. See how Samuel Garcia wants to get out of the way, or does he stay where he's at? He'll run the racing line, which is going to hold up the 73, just for a second. And it will give a chance for Sora as well for Knoll to close the gap even more.
Traffic playing a huge part into this situation right now for these leaders. And it's kind of expected. It's not what you want to run into is lap traffic when you're trying to be the leader and run away from the guys behind you. That's what happened. And it looks like Samuel Garcia a little wide, trying to give those leaders the room out into the sand, but keeps it straight back out on track. And these 3 are back on top of each other as they come around turn 11.
Yeah, for a moment it looked like it was an advantage for Sora and Knoll, but then there was the crossover move by the 15 machine to go from one side of the track to the other side of the track that blowed up the 15, ultimately hurt Sora. And now it was within a second, now a little bit more. Another lap car to deal with. That's Joshua Yanada. That's going to be Nichols. Does 16 go? Does he run his own line? Or will he just get out of the way? There's only a few more spots he really can just pull off to the side. As you're going to force Nichols just follow you in line, and he'll get out of the way for the 16. And it looks like he's trying to stay ahead of Sora. But will this hurt the 15 once again of another attempt? The drivers get out of the way for the 73, but not for the other two.
And it's really hard to get out of the way there in that situation without cutting the track. So, I mean, he had to get back into the racing line to get around that sharp right-hand turn. And right here, it's just so hard. Unless you've got the momentum to get around someone, it's so hard to just give them that position. So I mean, all I can say is do exactly what he's doing, what he needs to do. Just kind of be predictable. He's going to go low here. Try and let them by. He's going to slow down, let them by. So they're going to get around no problem at all.
Vincent Sora too wide. He has to get out of the way and set null now. Tires will put the pressure on. The gap over a second and a half with all of the shenanigans of lap cars. Nichols pulls away. Forbes still yet to pit. And we're 36 laps so far on lap 36. This should be the final lap for that 7 machine, unless he's been massively saving fuel to go just a little bit further than the rest of the competition. But at this point, you're just losing time and ground. For the 73, where do you place yourself with the leader being about 2.5 seconds ahead of you?
Yeah, John Forbes, he's got to be running on fumes for the most part. It's impressive. He's gone 36 laps when, fuel window's about 35. He's definitely been saving a little bit, and there's no way he can save to the end of this race. So his pit window is definitely coming up soon where he's going to have to pit to get fuel at the very least.
They're expecting it to happen either this lap or the next for the 7 machine, which then would
the leader is pitting now.
Jake Nichols as Forbes. There he is. There's the sign. Had to go into the pits. Was running. And the last driver to hit pit road is this 7 machine. Everyone else has completed their pit cycle. Can make it to the end.
17.
And Nichols now back to the point. Back to the lead. Back where he's been for most of the evening.
73 has taken the lead.
This time, 15 laps to go. Now make it 14. The gap 1.6 seconds between first and second. Third place right there in line. And this is the push to the end. How will this race continue? Because now, for Noel, he's used up so much of his tires to close in this gap, to make the passes that were necessary. This is when things really get to the grueling portions of what tires are left underneath you, and do you overstep any bounds to make it to the end?
Yeah, it's going to be really hard to make that decision. It really depends on how much he did use those tires up. But again, Vincent Sora and Jake Nichols, they both used their tires up quite a bit during their opening laps of that pit stop. So,
got one on your lap.
It's going to be a close call to see how much tire lift Nichols got. Unless he's trying to save a little bit here, because we still have 13 laps to go in this race. There's no reason to try to push and kill your tires now when you still have quite a bit of racing to go. Sorry, saving a little bit of resource to maybe make a few, like a 5 or 6 lap push near the end.
He's not happy.
As a few drivers having issues further on behind. Danny Cochran, trouble for the 2 machine as he was being challenged by Brian McCann at turn 5. And McCann got underneath the 2 turned down, and contact was made that spun Danny Cochran around and losing over at least 3 positions for himself. As the 2 that was aiming for a top 5 finish, not going to be the case. He will now try to fight to stay inside of the top 10. See some of the competition right ahead of him. This is that close battle that's happening on track. Right on board the 7 of John Forbes. You got Jared Talmadge, Zach Hall.
I think Zach would be scared after just watching me wreck a person.
Finish out this race with 13 laps to go.
Yeah, and I don't know if John Forbes took any tires.
He don't make many mistakes,
so. It was only 8.1 seconds, so I think that was just a fuel up and go situation for John Forbes, unless he took left side tires. But he's a lot further ahead than what he probably would have been if he had taken tires. So he's in a good position for himself. It's just a matter of, can his tires last enough to be able to pass these last couple of cars in front of him.
McCann and confirmed it was fuel only for the 7 with his pit stop.
Oh my goodness, I did not see the trap.
Take just 2. He decided to just take fuel and see where it places
one on
him.
your right.
Currently in 8th place. For John Forbes, this certainly is trying to be a net gain for himself. He's already up 1 spot from where he qualified.
I was focused on the 2 cars ahead of me.
Not the worst strategy with Brian McCann.
Completely missed the
That's
track.
That's some contact in the 8, the 7. Better watch out as we head down to the hard braking zone. A little bit of contact, but they were so close to
come back on the track with a bunch of dirt and it wouldn't stick.
Pass. Zach Hall tries to make a choice to get by Jared Talmadge, but just can't.
Yeah, Zach Hall looked to the outside, tried to make that move on the outside of Talmadge, but wasn't able to get the run through the middle of the. So John Forbes, he did make that move. I mean, Brian McCann got off track heavy off into the grass and the sand there, so he lost a lot of speed. And Forbes just kind of came across his nose ever so slightly. They had small contact, but still able to keep it straight. No harm, no foul. But Brian McCann is looking to try to get back around John Forbes as he is trying to close that gap and make a move.
3 major battles going out on track. The battle for the lead, Sentinel within a half a second now. The battle for 5th, it's Jared Talmadge and Zach Hall with John Forbes trying to close in. And then that battle for Forbes for 7, he's got Brian McCann. 3 closest battles for 1st, for 5th, and for 7th. These drivers putting it all on the line with 11 laps to go. It's Jake Nichols at the moment, but the difference just continues to be cut by a 10th here, a 10th there, and at this rate, Sentinel will be right on that back bumper in the next
that was a little dangerous.
laps. Then it's all about convincing Sora closing the gap, because that last time by, Sora was the fastest of our top 3.
Yeah, Sora definitely has some resource left in those tires. He's got some life left. He's putting the laps down. He's trying to get back up to Seth Nolan, challenge him. But Seth still trying everything he can to get back up to Jake Nichols and challenge him. He wants that lead back. He wants to beat Jake Nichols, who's been a very dominant driver since he's returned back into W.
Nichols, the rookie, has done everything right. Sentinel doing all these part-times the last couple of seasons, has been the driver that when he shows up, he is competing for the win. And Vincent Sora, he's always been there since 4 of the WSSR Cup Series. He's won 2 championships back in Season 4, Season 5. Thought he was going to get his 3rd in a row, but wasn't the case. And since then, has been just searching to find consistency to be the driver to beat. And with this change up for the cars, if Nichols and Knowles wasn't here, Sora could have been the odds-on favorite to go for his 3rd championship and tie Larry Yingling in the history books of the most championships earned in this series. But with Nichols emerging, with Noel here, Richard, sometimes it's nice to have competition. Sometimes you like a little bit of a cakewalk to a championship. This 15, if he somehow can take this win here tonight for that championship, this would be one of the most thrilling and most rewarding championships to take with the competition around him.
Yeah, when you're so used to being up front all the time, then you have guys that, their skill level just surpasses you by so much. John Forbes has done a great job here to really adapt and learn a lot quicker than we've seen, and just able to kind of maintain pace with these guys. So this is a challenge for John Forbes, but this is exactly what he needs, especially with some plans he has next year. But Danny Cochran and the number 10 machine of Jan Van Leer, they get into each other on the other side of the track. But yeah, John Forbes definitely looking for a very, very tough season ahead of him.
It's not going to be seen Sentinel, Vincent Sora. Where do you place yourself? Jake Nichols. We can find that here. Making 9 laps to go. But this is the final countdown of these drivers and where you're placed. John Forbes, Brian McCann to continue to go back and forth between one another, but looks like for McCann, he might have the advantage for himself. Other battles that are starting to emerge, Larry Yingling as well as Cedric Hunter and Ryan Kelly are starting to get a little bit closer. There's still quite a big gap between those 3 drivers, as well as Ollie Fonseca and Shane Tarian. They're within a second as Matt Meir gets out of the way. And now, within a second and a half, our top 3 just linger with lap cars? Who will be the next in front of them? Or is it just clean sailing to the end? Because the next grouping is a battle that's starting to slowly get closer and closer. That's Shane Terry and Ollie Fonseca, about 5.5 seconds ahead of Jake Nichols currently.
Ahead of him, just ahead. He's got to worry about. We're worried about that. You know, it might slow him down. But right now, he's getting a little bit more gap between him and Seth Knoll. That gap is extended to just about a second out of some of these turns versus the 7/10ths that we saw earlier. So Seth Knoll is doing everything he can to try and catch Jake Nichols, but Jake has still got some life left in those tires to put some laps down.
And how much has this 73 really been pushing? As that last lap was a 1 minute 17.7 second lap time. About 2 cents faster than Knoll, a little bit slower than Vincent Sora by 1/100th of a second. You're all top three, very close. You can also throw in that fourth place runner of Thomas Green. Sadly, Green is 15 seconds away from our leader, but based off of his lap times, Thomas Green really has been rapid here this evening. Just because of the way that first stint went down, he just lost too much ground in 31. Or so just racing a ghost ahead of him and behind as he runs in fourth position. But ahead, this battle for the lead, it just continues to go back and forth, but the advantage, I feel like, is in Nichols' hands on the way that he's protected his tires compared to Knoll, who really put everything out there, just run down and catch up to this group to be in this position.
Yeah, he's done everything he could to try to catch these guys, and you know, he's just gotta hope that he's got some life left in those tires of his. But these times are pretty even between these three drivers. Seth is just, I don't know, just a little bit, but he's under 10 laps to go. We got 7 laps to go in this race, so he's running a last-minute push to catch Jake Nichols.
Now, maybe it's not always as Lucky Ducks in the history books. It's not really been a team-oriented. It's more of just forget the win. But if they are doing a little bit of teamwork right now, Seth Knoll has been the slowest of this top trio, and he has been slowing down Vincent Sora. Sora has been able to find an opening to try to even attempt a pass on the 23. Knoll has kind of just been a good buffer for Nichols, who just continues to hit his marks and looks super smooth so far here this evening as drivers continue to race back and forth. One of the closest battles on track now going to be for 6th place as Zach Hall and Brian McCann. McCann has caught up to the 32 machine.
Brian McCann catching up to Zach Hall. He is trying to make a move to get another position for himself. I mean, he's not quite in an attacking position, but he's very, very close, waiting for that moment, trying to get the momentum to catch Zach Hall, using that draft the best that he possibly can. But it just, he's got a little bit less speed here in the S's, it looks like, and this is going to be the moment where he's got to try to get that that attacking move going into turn 11 in that hairpin turn. A lot of passes are made there. He's just a little bit too far back to make a move. It depends on how aggressive he wants to be.
My bad for telling us to move away from the battle for second, because that pass you were talking about, turn 11, almost a chance there for the machine to go for the pass. Vincent Sora was able to find a way to sneak his way through with Seth Knoll, and now is in 2nd place. No longer will he have those chains holding back to 15. The only thing he's got to worry about is the fact that he's got competition now right on that rear end. Vincent Sora, this is your chance. You got the breathing room. Now it's your chance to try to put down some burners to catch up to Nichols, who's got 6, about to be 5 laps to go when they cross the line. What's left for the 15, as they've got a lap car also expected to be in front of them. That's going to be Shane Terrian as well as Ollie Fonseca, and another pairing of drivers that could be there at the end of this race. So for Sora, he's got to catch up to the leader or hope that lap traffic blows up the 73 as they go into turn number 11 and get ready for 5 to go.
Yeah, it was impressive to see Sora get around Seth Knoll. I guess Seth Knoll has used up his stuff a little bit more than we were expecting, but Vincent Sora still has a 2.5 seconds to catch Jake Nichols. A big gap between those two, so he's got to hope that those lap traffic kind of slowed down Jake Nichols a little bit. But, I mean, if we've been seeing, I mean, it's a battle in front of Jake Nichols, so these two might not give the spacing. We've been seeing a lot of the lap traffic. So this could give Vincent Sora that extra space to catch him.
Yeah, all the times that they've passed lap traffic, it's been kind of a lone driver that's trying to find a way to not lose ground of the competition ahead of them. and also get out of the way as smoothly as they could. This is going to be the first battle of two drivers for position. Terry and Fonseca. And for Shane Terry, he's been running down this 24 all throughout this second half of the race. Finally is caught to the rear bumper. The problem, Jake Nichols just got up to them. So this is that tough decision. Do you go and get out of the way? Do you follow in suit? As Vincent Sora, on the other hand, he's just not able to really feel comfortable at this moment. He's just not able to hit his marks as smoothly as he was when he was following Noel in line. The 15. What does he have as Terry and Fonseca make slight contact through turn 11, blowing up the 73. He now is trying to make a move to the inside. They'll be side by side. No, Terry holding back Nichols for his there.
I know Nichols has got to be frustrated with this. He knows that he's faster than these guys, but at the same time, they have every right to fight him right now because they're in a battle of themselves as well. Shane Terrian's trying to get around Ollie Fonseca and not lose the time. Look, you see what he's doing now because of Jake Nichols challenging this, but Ollie Fonseca has now caught Jake Nichols in his mirror. Let's see if Ollie gives him the space or tries to stay in front of him and keep him between him and Shane Terrian.
Well, Terry gets out of the way for Sora as well for Noel. So he tried his best. Now Fonseca will get out of the way for the 73. We'll get back in line in front of Sora. And up in fourth, moving up. And Sora said, oh, I thought I had the good braces. But instead, losing time and ground, the 24 might have just helped our leader of Nichols hold on for the lead, at least for this moment.
Yeah, might have helped him out just a little bit. Ollie Fonseca, I mean, he gave the room for the leader, but then he had to make that turn also, just cutting down in front of Vincent Sora, losing a little bit of time. Let's see if Ollie Fonseca gives it to Sora here. He will stay a little high, going to kind of pinch him down low there against the wall, but still let him have the spot. Now Vincent Sora, again, clean air to catch up to Jake Nichols. We'll see if he's got the pace to catch back up to him, but Jake Nichols is almost on a free roam here to win this race.
Free roam, and Ollie Fonseca just handed over that position to first. But once again, Vincent Sora probably would have loved to see the lap cars. If you're going to be that generous to lead, they're trying to run down the leader. Not the case. All that time that they would have caught up, throw it away. We're right back to square one, about a second behind. Sora to Nichols with 3.5, making now 2.5 laps to go. Jake Nichols, all he has to do, hit your marks. You don't even have to be faster than Sora. Just make sure you're a couple of tenths slower than him, and you'll still have the space to hold back this 15.
Yeah, I mean, Jake Nichols, he's definitely want to still try to extend that gap ever so slightly. He wants to dominate this race completely, and he has, but he wants to extend that gap even more. But by doing that, it could put him into a place for even more mistakes. The faster you go, the more mistakes you could potentially, the more chance of mistakes. But he's been basically perfect this entire race so far. So he's just going to keep up his pace and try to keep in front of Vincent Sora as far as he can.
Hit your marks, continue to try to pull away, and he does just that across the line. A 1 minute 17.3 second lap time.
Got one on your left.
2 tenths faster than Vincent Sora. 3 to 4 tenths faster than Seth Knoll. Jake Nichols, 2 laps to go, and now is your time to show your true pace. What do you have underneath this 73 to just solidify yourself that there was no question, an absolute, the 73 was the best of the day. Vince Sora showed some moments and glimpses of being the fastest at times. Seth Knoll put down the fastest lap of the day. But the 73 just has a lap and a half to go to take the victory here tonight. This 73 looking good as he heads down through the S's.
The only thing that's going to stop the 73 machine now is a mistake done by himself. So he's got to be smooth and hit his marks, because Vincent Sora still in a fantastic striking position. He's now down to 1 second. He was up to 1.6 seconds, but the gap is cut down. It's slightly increasing, and just Jake Nichols seems to have a way better S's than everybody else as they come down to turn 11, but that gap still hefty gap between him and Vincent Sora. Sora's doing everything he can to try to catch him, and he's hoping that Nichols makes a mistake.
As we come out of turn number 12, this is the end of race number 5. As the white flag is out.
He knew he had to get that turn perfect.
Precision Prince, white flag. 1 to go here this evening.
All right, man. White flag
and Nichols taking it easy that last go around off the exit of turn number 5, not trying to wheel spin and a little bit of cautiousness. It giving up a little bit of time to Vincent Sora, but this 73, I mean, I thought maybe there was a chance for the rest of the field to close the gap, but Nichols just looks to be on a different level here this season. It's going to have to be a major mistake on why Nichols does not find himself being the points leader moving on, because he just looks too dominant at every track he goes to.
Yeah, he's just dominated every track so far. He's been up there basically winning every single race. The closest competition he's had is Seth Knoll, but Vincent Sora is showing that he has got a very good prowess here on road courses, and he is challenged. He is in second place, besting Seth Knoll tonight.
Oh, as we are coming to the end of this race, it is some shocking news. Incident points have struck two drivers, Samuel S. Garcia.
Yeah, he got a good run out of turn. I ain't got nothing for him now.
As we're coming to the white flag, that could hurt dramatically for the 2 as well for the 50. But winning once again his part of the season, Sonoma road courses. And what can he do? Nichols wins here once
I was going for it
again
if he left it open.
WSSR Cup Series.
Fantastic performance and a phenomenal show from Jake Nichols, again showing why he is a very dominant driver here in the WSSR Cup
That was
Series.
a fun race.
And again, another win.
I think we were racing the whole time.
Some great work by
There's the flag,
himself.
man.
And, you know, honestly, it was a fantastic race overall. We had battles
There you
throughout
go,
the
man.
entire
Good job, driver.
field as everybody was fighting every driver they were around for every position they could get.
All right.
A little bit
See
of
y'all.